Welcome to another episode of Season 4 Paige's Lessons. If you identify as someone who is ambitious, curious about life, and is a badass, you've come to the right place. This mini-series is specifically dedicated toward helping you explore your own unique healing journey. As a board-certified life coach, I made it my life's work to encourage and guide my clients to build a dream lifestyle and overcome any obstacles so they can feel more aligned with their most authentic self. As this season is titled The Power of Healing, in just 1 year alone, I personally have participated in several different modalities beyond talk therapy that have truly transformed my life, and I can't wait to share them with you. In every episode, I will interview an expert that is a master of their craft, and they will break down a specific way to heal through their unique services. As a mental health advocate, I'm so excited to have these conversations that will bring you closer to optimal health and well-being. Together, we will discover how we define healing, what does healing actually look like and feel like into practice. Make sure to listen to all the episodes of this season, stay open-minded, and remember, healing is a process, not an event. If we can take one step at a time, one feeling at a time, we'll walk through this discomfort and into the rest of our lives. Hi, Lumi. Thank you so much for being here and saying yes to being a guest on the show. How are you feeling today?
Hello, Paige. Thank you for having me. I'm very good. I woke up pretty late today, but so glad to be here with you. And thank you for having me.
Of course. Well, before we start our conversation, please tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, and I'll wait for my next question.
Yes. So hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to this podcast. And basically, my name is Luminita, but to keep it shorter, please call me Lumi. I love that name as well. All my friends call me Lumi. I live in Tokyo, Japan, and I am a certified EFT Tapping, NLP, and timeline techniques practitioner. And I have also done a master's in business administration here in Tokyo. And right now, I just coach wonderful people with like content marketing and mindset. But yeah, I would say my favorite thing is to really transform people's perspectives, people's lives to my tools, to EFT tapping, NLP, and timeline techniques. So yeah, I'm really excited to talk about it because I could be talking about it for hours. So.
I love it. Beautiful. Well, so a question I ask every guest on the show is, what was one dream you had for yourself as a kid?
Oh, I love that. That's a really wonderful question. Actually, I was thinking about this recently. I was doing some inner child healing work, and I mean, we're always doing it. So it's like, yeah. But one of my dreams was actually to be an actress and or a singer. I also had singer at some point. And I wanted to be an actress, but later in life, I actually realized I wanted to be an actress just for the sake of living multiple lives, so to say. You know, when you're an actor, you can kind of experience different people's lives, different characters' lives, right? But I realized I actually did that in a way. You know, I moved from Romania to Japan. I studied Japanese in my bachelor's back in Romania. I was very passionate about foreign languages. And you know, Romanian is very different to Japanese, but I started, you know, studying that. Then I came to Japan to some scholarships, and I did 1 year in a city called Nara, a exchange year, and then came to do my master's in business administration. So, and then I also lived in London for 2 years. So I managed to live my childhood dream to traveling and discovering different cultures and talking to people that I would never have the opportunity to talk to back home, you know, especially face to face. So yeah, I was thinking actually, wow, this is in a way how I achieved my childhood dream, which the essence of it, I think it was experiencing as much as I can. Yeah.
That's a beautiful story. I'm so glad you shared that. And there seems to be a trend when I ask each guest that even if it's not exactly what you did or what you wanted to do in terms of a career title, the essence, I love that word that you mentioned, right? It's the spirit of
Yeah.
living multiple lives, introducing yourself to different people, having these experiences. And it seems like you're doing that right now and in your past. So that's awesome. I love that you shared that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah.
So my goal for this season is to educate the listeners more on how we define healing. What does it look like and feel like into practice? And so my purpose for every episode is to interview experts like you, just to share your words of wisdom as they talk about their craft and modalities, because I think it's really important to showcase other tools in our toolbox that we can have towards our healing journey. And so that's why today we're talking about EFT tapping. So Lumi, summarize for me what led you to this space of EFT tapping.
Yes, thank you so much, Paige. So first of all, actually, it was a very good, like a coincidence, a synchronicity, if you may call it that way. I started in November 2020. I all of a sudden got this like extreme impulse, like it was just not letting me sleep, that I should be doing this coaching certification that I found. And actually, I back in my master's in business administration, I did a yoga and meditation group, just because everyone was so stressed out. It was like a very difficult period. It was, during the pandemic and everything. So I did that for everyone. And then after I graduated, I realized, wait, maybe I can do this like for like as my career. And since then, I've been extremely hooked on it. And there was my certification I was mostly interested to go into it for hypnosis, to learn how to learn hypnosis better, and I love it. I still do it practice it with my clients. But then EFT tapping was one of the modalities, and it was very new to me at that point. But I went into it, and to be very honest, in the very beginning, maybe in the very year, I didn't pay it as much attention as I did to the other ones, to the NLP and the hypnotherapy, because it was quite a lot. I was, just kind of starting to understand the huge power, the strength that these modalities have on our subconscious mind, and how actually it's so efficient and fast that they can change some deep-rooted beliefs. But it was when I started to do some heavy shadow work. So by shadow work, I mean when you start looking at your patterns, when you start looking at your daily habits, when you start looking at your negative thought patterns, and you're really starting to observe where are they coming from, and what is kind of like, how can I turn them, like change them in a way that is beneficial to my life that I'm building. And I started going into that, and I felt like the modalities, the things that I was doing for myself were not kind of like enough, so to say. And then I actually started doing EFT tapping. I was part of another mentors group as well that was only EFT tapping. And it wasn't a certification on anything, just for myself to kind of like clear some stuff. And I realized, oh, EFT tapping is not about doing it once per week and then, okay, why hasn't this issue left, It's such a powerful and easy to do, like modality, but it's really about repetition. It's about repeating it more than once, and that's it, right? Especially when you found a script, when you find an EFT tapping sequence that really works for you, it really helps out if you do it even daily for a week, to really take from that, like, those negative thoughts, for example.
I love that. Yes, I agree. And I've only been exposed, I guess, to EFT tapping for a couple years. And I am the same, right? I haven't done it enough to be like, oh, well, I did it once. Why aren't I getting results? It reminds me of the one day a week you eat a salad and you're like,
Yeah.
why am I still this weight? Or why do I still feel crappy? So the repetition is really important. Same with, hypnosis as well. If you're listening
Yeah.
to it back, it's homework, but from the brief exposure and practice I have had with EFT, it is very immediate. I feel in terms of the like after you do your session or whatever it's called, your sequence, there is an energy shift.
Yeah.
I feel like in order for long-term sustainable change, that is when the repetition and, like you said, daily would need to come. But
Exactly.
I do experience when I'm actually tapping, there is some kind of shift. But I would need to do it more often to
Yeah.
feel long-term.
Exactly. It's not necessarily that you have to do it for 6 months or something like that. It's really, how the neurons, they form certain connections. And I feel it's the same with EFT tapping. Like when you're tapping and when you're releasing certain things, you're forming certain connections. And if you're not repeating them, if you're not putting kind of effort into repeating that, then it's really going to fade away. It's not going to really be a healthy connection, right? And I think what is the thing that people don't really get that much about EFT tapping is that it's not really supposed to be like a meditation necessarily. It's not something that yes, it relaxes you and you feel way better afterwards, but it's such a wonderful tool to aim it at your beliefs. Like, for example, if you have a belief like, oh, I'm not a confident public speaker, yes, you could do some hypnotherapy and that's wonderful. You could do some other things, but EFT tapping is just going to be like an instant relief. And after that instant relief, you just do it another time and do it another time. And then your result is going to be long lasting. Another thing I would like to say is that for EFT tapping, if it's a 10-minute, 15-minute session, I would encourage you to just do it once per day and then kind of like let it integrate. So you don't have to tap several times for like 40 minutes or anything, right? Just take it in your pace and, do it once per day and let that what you tapped integrate.
What does EFT stand for?
So it's emotional freedom technique, and it was actually designed in the beginning for veterans coming out of, war with PTSD and a lot of like, really difficult mental issues, right? Really difficult memories that they've had. And basically, EFT tapping would help with releasing some of those emotions, some of those, trapped, very deeply trapped emotions in their bodies. And they had a lot of wonderful results with that. There's quite a lot, of scientific studies and research on EFT as well, but basically that's where it's coming from. That's where it's initially created. And why it's so effective is that you tap on the meridian points of your body. So you're touching certain energetic points, so to say. I'm not even talking about like energetic points from like an aura perspective, or it's like literally if you go and you scan yourself, if you have like a kind of like a warmth scanner, the one that like you can see which part of the body is warm. You can like see which the point that you're tapping are the ones to which most of your energy is flowing, right? Most of your life force, so to say, is flowing. So that's basically how it works. It releases, by you saying the words at the same time with tapping. Not only does it bring up the emotions that are stocked in the body, sometimes very, very deep down, that we're avoiding to feel, we're avoiding to name, we're avoiding to deal with, and then it causes more damage in our bodies. But it's just like, releases everything to those energetic points.
I think what's really fascinating, and also to the point of the purpose, right, with PTSD demographic and releasing trapped emotion. And what's really cool about EFT is the active participation of yourself versus these other modalities that I've been interviewing experts like breath work, Reiki. That's a little bit more passive or feminine in the way of surrendering, right? But
Yeah.
the EFT, you are incorporating the language component, the limiting beliefs, and then more like acceptance of what you wish to create, right? So I think what's cool is the active participation that you are doing to yourself.
Yeah.
It makes me feel a little bit more empowered when I'm hitting those meridian points. I don't know, like it gives me some kind of like superhero effect that I'm kind of like manipulating what my brain keeps repeating, these negative things, right? So it's like it's a balance between I'm saying out loud the limiting beliefs. So I'm like in therapy, right? We're talking about our problems. I'm saying out loud what this is while I'm tapping. I'm still tuning in, and I accept myself, I love myself, I forgive myself. So it's kind of that both and, in addition to literal the science of those meridian points too. So it's a combo.
Exactly. I love that you mentioned that. I actually did an experiment on myself last year. I was just like, okay, I'm just going to go full on into EFT tapping, and I'm going to see how it is when I'm really, doing it a couple of days per week, like maybe 3 days per week. I would just do EFT tapping as part of my morning routine. I still do it right now. 2-3 days per week, I would just also do tapping. So I did that experiment because I was like, okay, so many people around me tell me that, like, wow, this EFT tapping, it's amazing. It's really, like it's helped me so much. And I was like, okay, what is this? I don't understand. What are you saying? It doesn't really work for me like that. And then I was like, okay, I only did it once a month. So maybe that's the problem there. And I started really going into it. As I said, I was also part of a group with EFT tapping focused on it. And it was just like it worked wonders. I felt like I was thinking in a different way. I was using my time differently. I had other ideas about what I am capable of. So, that's just to say how much you confronting these blind spots, so to say, that you have, you really taking up saying the things that you're sometimes not looking at, not reflecting on, and then tapping to them is truly, truly so helpful. And again, it's not about doing it, I don't know how many times per day. 3 times per week is more than enough, and you're really gonna see the results very, very fast.
I wanted to touch on two words that stuck out that you mentioned. The first word is experiment.
Yeah.
And the episode before this, which is human design, we talk about that human design is an experiment. It's here's the information about yourself. Now go live your life. And so with EFT as well, it kind of is an experiment of try it, integrate it, see what will happen, have the repetition, and you will see results in different ways. So I love the word experiment. That's just like what I've been playing with this whole year,
Yeah.
moving to California and just being the best version of myself. Is it's been an experiment of what lands on my lap and what I want to get into. So EFT can definitely be an experiment in that way. And then the other thing the other word that stuck out was tapping. And it just reminded me of, I've heard so much in this field of tap in. We need to tap in our shadow work. We need to tap in our past lives, whatever. We are literally tapping, people.
Yeah,
Like we're
tapping.
actually tapping. So I thought that was like, it just like hit me of like, wow, we are tapping into this, like the blind spots, like you said, we're tapping into what no longer serves us. So maybe we can start talking about the actual tapping points so people can have like a frame of reference of what are we actually tapping.
Yeah, this I just wanted to say very quickly. What you said was awesome just now. This thing about tapping in, and so there is such a thing as too much inner work, and I want everyone to think whether you are, because especially my clients mostly I coach on business and strategy also, right? And sometimes we might slip into too much inner work or too much outer work, right? We're doing too much doing in our business, and like, but there is such a thing as too much inner work. And I believe EFT tapping is that more masculine energy, more like organized, like everyone has masculine and feminine energy, right? More like, I'm taking the action, I'm doing this, I'm tapping to the points, and I'm releasing this belief. So I think when you're kind of stuck in a loop of too much inner work, like, okay, I didn't meditate 3 hours today, you should definitely not be meditating 3 hours today, especially when you're building a business or doing other things. More than half an hour, I would say, like even half an hour, I sometimes do too much, is not necessary, because there's such a thing as the universe, there's such a thing as divine guidance, there's such a thing as different forces that are working with you to create what you desire, but you have to also do the outer work. You gotta go and take that action, right? So EFT tapping is great for like, okay, let me do this, take this action, this is my inner work, and then let me go take action in the real world. And so the tapping points are basically the meridians that we tap on would be the top of the head, and then you basically tap on your forehead. Then you would have, I like to tap with 2 hands, to be honest. I know there's people that tap with only one, but I just love to like touch both of them and really tell myself like the bullshit that I'm telling myself. Like I want it to be very well ingrained in my mind, like all that imposter syndrome and like the stuff. I just love to call it out, to EFT tapping. I'm like, come out of there. Let's discuss this because this is not okay. And then, like, so top of the head, then you go on the forehead, you go on the lateral parts, so on the temples, and then you would go under the eyes, right? We have a point here under the eyes. It's really soothing, this one, I feel. Then we go under the nose. So you would start tapping under the nose, you would tap under the mouth, right? Between your mouth and the chin, there is this little spot there. Then on the collarbone, which is, I love this point because it's like revertebrates all to your body. When you're like saying the affirmations or like the new beliefs that you want to instill. And then we have kind of like for your, you know, your under your armpit, maybe where your bra strap is, you know, or for men, it would be just under your armpit, maybe like a few centimeters down. And that's it. Those are the tapping points. Actually, it's not rocket science. But because it's so easy, one of my clients once said, like, how can this help me so much? I don't understand. I'm just tapping on my body. Like, how can this be? You know? And I was like, yeah, it's because you're doing really courageous things. It's courageous to call these things out. It's courageous to confront them. It's courageous to, you know, really like have, you're processing a lot of emotion to EFT tapping, right? And what I love to do, so I don't really have scripts in EFT tapping. I usually just like either have downloads, or I like, you know, I just have ideas of what I should say for my clients. And you know, it's really putting also some humor inside of the EFT tapping, like joking around sometimes, because there can be some heavy stuff coming up, like really heavy, you know. But yeah, so those are the points. And the point with EFT tapping is to work on the things that you might be avoiding sometimes. You might be avoiding looking at, and some stuff that no matter how much meditation, no matter how much other stuff you're doing, it might just not be active enough, I believe.
Do you think that it would be for someone that's never done this before? And we're talking about, you know, limiting beliefs, bullshit, you know, being honest with yourself. And, you know, for someone that hasn't done it, do you recommend they work with an EFT specialist first? Because how would they know what to say, or they can go into a YouTube rabbit hole, right? I guess, like, so what's some advice that you have if you're just starting out with EFT, you're interested in doing it, but you don't have a script, or you don't know what to say, or yeah.
I would say definitely like, you know, if you're working for a focused issue, for a focused problem, it would be great to have someone who's a practitioner and can, you know, guide you to a script that is personalized for you. But if you're just starting out and you're curious, there are tons of amazing EFT tapping videos on YouTube, and just like, you know, the basics, like, you know, releasing anger, for example. So one of the things that are help me the most with EFT tapping, it works so well with negative emotions. When you're angry and you don't want to take a stupid decision, you don't want to make a mistake, just EFT tap. Like, don't do anything, don't talk to anyone, don't go into a fight, right? Do not put your hand on the phone. Just go on YouTube, and there's like EFT tapping for anger, and there's going to be like so many out there. You know, for anger, for panic attacks. I once had I had an asthma attack, right? I have asthma, and I found it really hard to breathe one morning. There was like some pollen, some allergy stuff in the air, and I found it really difficult to breathe. And I was like freaking out. I was like, okay, well, what's happening? And then before I went to the clinic, you know, in a panic or anything, I just went on YouTube and I tapped for panic attacks, for panic, you know, to release panic out of my body. And it worked, you know, from the get-go. I calmed down maybe 20 times than what I was, the intensity. I was completely calm. I just took my things. I went to the clinic. Everything was great. They gave me something that was fine, rather than me going there and imagining all sorts of things and like being, upset and all that stuff. I just avoided all those things by EFT tapping. So I definitely recommend just go on YouTube and find some very basic ones like EFT tapping for beginners, for example. But if you want to work on a more focused issue, if you know that you have something that you would like to work on, it's better to work with a practitioner because we are very much personalizing with some stuff from your life, some stuff from what you tell us. So that's going to be way more powerful for your, personal subconscious mind.
Beautiful. So to summarize, you can search EFT for beginners or just that kind of some basic emotions, right? Releasing anger, things like that, but a specific,
Sadness.
right, but a specific issue or limiting belief, coming to someone like you, and you can pull out more information and context and create something more powerful. That makes sense.
Exactly.
How do you define healing?
That's so beautiful. I define it as an opening. I started in this like overall in this world, so to say, when I started to do therapy. I was maybe 26, and I went to a therapist who is a Gestalt therapist. That's a typical, like, I'm going into details, but she was amazing. She was really awesome. And when I think about healing, I think back to that time where I just started opening up and my inner world started kind of like being acknowledged and paid attention to, and really accepted. Because before that point, I used to be so much in masculine energy and like doing all the things and learning all the stuff and learning Japanese till the highest level and taking all the exams possible and having to ace those exams and like being so self-critical of myself, like, oh, my inner voice was not so kind, but that was like a survival tactic for me. I lost my mom and I was 18, so I basically had to kind of like be on my own and deal with everything as an adult. Basically, someone brought an adult diploma and just put it in my hand. So I was like, okay, now. So I had to, financially, everything I had to deal with on my own, right? And I think that period from 18 till 26, I really didn't pay much attention to my inner world or what was happening with that grief and everything, right? So I would definitely just say healing is a opening and a curiosity towards your inner world, and a journey. It's a it's a journey that does not have an objective. It's not objective based. I'm very sorry for those of you who like to have objectives and goals and like, I need to reach this point by that time. It's really just a wonderful soothing journey within yourself. Yeah.
That's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing your personal
Yeah.
experience. And I relate to you a lot in terms of my whole life having the masculine role be my main
Mm.
identity. And I didn't know it was even called that until I joined co-coaching, which is where we met
Yeah.
virtually online in a coaching community. So I didn't even know feminine, masculine, and I've had podcast episodes about conversations about that. But anyway, I relate to you in that way. And
Mm.
then Gestalt, oh my God. Yeah, I'm a big fan. When I have my master's in counseling. So when I studied that modality in school, I just loved it so much. So it's very powerful of just how in the moment we're doing this right now. Like,
Yeah.
here we go. So yeah, I really resonate with your story, and also losing a parent myself, just navigating the grief. But I love what you said about finally your insides are validated.
Yeah.
It is healing. It is so, I just kind of had this vision of you when you were talking, of like, inside of us is this like secret garden, and there's these
Mm.
different flowers and vines, but it's all locked up in this gate. And so like as you were talking, like I felt my chest kind of like open, and all the branches and twigs and things were just like, the flowers were just like expanding out.
Yeah.
Like that's, I feel like then that's how we're going to continue to grow and plant our,
Yeah.
because, and it's not, like you said, it's a journey. So we're not healed, we're not done growing and learning, but it's expansive.
Exactly, exactly. I got chills when you were describing that. Yeah. I do imagine it like that. I also imagine it as a portal, just like opening in our chest, and like, just seeing like the night stars in there. It's very serene, and it takes a while. I don't think 3 years ago I could have described healing like that. And that's just so beautiful to reflect and look back in our journeys and realize, like, wow, I have gone so far. Like, I think most of us really underestimate what we can do. No, we overestimate what we can do in 1 year sometimes, but we underestimate what we can do in 2, 3 years. And there's so much that I owe to EFT tapping. And I was actually curious, you're still having clients with therapy, right? For therapy.
No, I transitioned from being a therapist to life coaching.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Well,
So,
there's so much that I owe to the therapy as well, to all these coaching modalities. But EFT tapping is definitely a modality that just you can do it even with together with therapy. If you're in therapy and you want to do something alongside that, it's very easy to just have a better day with EFT tapping. I'm not joking. If you feel cranky, if you woke up on the wrong side of the bed, just do a short 10-minute, there's a ton, positive vibes EFT tapping in YouTube. And I have someone actually that, like, on YouTube, I would like to recommend. It's called the person is Tap with Brad, and he's very good. He's like the father of EFT tapping. Not the father, but he's done so much good in the world, and his videos from like 8 years ago are still helping people so much. So of course he has newer ones. He's still doing very much doing that. But yeah, just go in there and do a 5 minute, a 10-minute EFT tapping, and it's just so soothing and so easy to do. And I'm sure you're gonna surprise yourself. Probably in the beginning, in the first few seconds, you're gonna think like, "What the heck am I doing? What is this?" But I'm sure you will be very surprised with the end result.
beautiful. That's so great. I'm excited. Thanks for putting that resource too, by the way.
Yes.
So yeah, just I guess to summarize, it sounds like EFT is very manageable. It's not hard in terms of the task. It's going to create very powerful changes. Keep repetition if you can. And there's really, you can integrate it with other things, right? You can still go to therapy and do EFT. You can still do breath work and still do EFT. EFT. So it can really get you out of certain situations. It sounds very, it's just a great thing to put in your toolkit.
Exactly, exactly. I agree. And just give it a try. You know, if this is your first time hearing about EFT tapping, it's probably a sign so that you go and try it once.
Yes.
Because EFT tapping, I realized it doesn't come to your life by mistake. You know, it's this kind of modality that is life changing. I had tapped on everything with my clients, from being afraid to connect with people online, from being afraid to be visible, from, you know, like even being afraid to post on social media. Anything that you could think of regarding business, especially because that's, you know, the area that I mostly coach on. I definitely did a tapping on that. So the beauty of it is that it can be any topic that you think of. There's nothing that you cannot work to EFT tapping.
Yes. And I did a recent video with Lumi that she recorded about sales, and not everyone on this podcast or on the that's listening is are entrepreneurs, and that's okay. But just in general, it was about, you know, the relationship you have with sales. And for me, it is a hard, you know, I do have the mindset that sales is yucky or it's gross, or I always want to be authentic with my coaching and how I show up in the world. So I did her EFT video. It was not even 5 minutes, y'all. And on a scale from 1 to 10 of like how I felt in the beginning to then just the new beliefs, and just like work, and it's working on it, right? It doesn't mean like, oh, no matter what, now I love sales, but still it's just that slow progression. And so I was at a 4, and then after the video and just tapping, I was a 7. So I'm telling you, in just a short amount of time, just noticing the energy shift, saying out loud what your blockages are, and then what do you wish to create instead, and having acceptance with yourself. So it's really powerful. So I do want to give you that shout out. You know what you're talking about, and it's really cool. It's really helpful of how fast it can be.
Yeah, definitely. And the thing is, on Instagram, it's kind of difficult to put 10-15 minute videos. So, but I would recommend the amount of time to spend on EFT tapping best is like 10-15 minutes. So that's a bit better because it's more time for your brain, for your subconscious mind to understand certain things and release certain things. So I would recommend that. Usually that's the length I do with my clients. Or in a recent, it was interesting. I did a group program very recently I had 5 ladies, and all of us did DFT tapping together. It's usually 10-20 minutes that I do with them. But what's cool is that every one of them had a different interpretation of what that EFT, you know, the EFT tapping script, the things I was saying was the same for everyone, but they all had a different way of understanding and like a different aha moment in their minds, that was, you know, personal to them. And you never know what you're gonna find. Sometimes memories come up to you. You know, we did a lot of tapping on imposter syndrome, on fear of success, fear of being successful and actually achieving your dreams. And they got memories, you know, while we were tapping, they used to remember some stuff from childhood, some stuff from, you know, some moments with their teachers that weren't so nice. So it's definitely, it's definitely an energetic release as well. It works at many different layers in your body, in your psyche. So yeah, definitely 10-20 minutes, and make sure you drink a lot of water afterwards, because it is an energetic release afterward, after all. So make sure you're replenishing, hydrating yourself, yeah, after EFT tapping.
Good. Smart. Makes sense. Awesome. Well, what are some ways, or some offers that you provide virtually, so the listeners can check it out?
Yes, thank you so much, Paige. So right now, I actually just have my one-on-one program. It's almost full, but I will launch a new group program very soon. That's going to be very similar to the one I did before. It's going to have a lot of EFT tapping and business strategy as well. And you can come check out my content on magnetic.abundance on Instagram. So that's magnetic.abundance, and you'll find me there. And you can check. I have a lot of stuff on how to create content that helps you in attracting those clients, on doing that outer work as well, right? Not just the inner work. And I have also a lot of content around these modalities. I do some EFT tapping videos from now and then as well on there. So please come and check it out. Come and see what's all about. You can also check some of the links that I have. I have some freebies on creating content on the marketing side of business, if that's something that you're into. And I'll probably put some more resources in there as well with some EFT tapping videos. So yeah, I'm excited to have you there.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And all of that, what Lumi just said, you don't need to memorize. It'll be in the show notes, so you can go ahead and check that out. Well, thank you so much, Lumi. I really appreciate this conversation. Thank you for sharing a little bit about your journey and overall how much this is an impact in your life and your business, and how it can help someone in their healing journey. I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Paige, and asking me those questions that are really insightful, wonderful, and I can't wait to listen to some other episodes in your podcast.
Yes, awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to share your words of wisdom. Thank you to my listeners out there. Remember, every single day provides a lesson. Go out there, dream big, and I'll catch you next week. Take care. If this podcast truly resonates with you, take a screenshot of the episode and share it on your social media story. Tag me on Instagram or Facebook, and my handle is @paigemitchell.coach. I'm so excited to see what you shared and connect with you. Thank you so much for listening, and until next time, take care.